Guest will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here, Jason Fitz sprinkled in, I believe, for your audio entertainment. And let me just get this off my chest. I'm over it.
Are you, though?
No.
Are you?
No, not even remotely.
You know what? I'd be worried if you
Damn
were.
it!
I didn't even have, outside of your happiness, that much of a vestige. It was a great story in the Baylor Bears, Trey's alma mater, who unfortunately lost this weekend. But
Son of a biscuit eater.
The way it happened
was unbelievable.
I mean, I felt terrible for you.
The amazing, for those that may not know, Baylor was up 28-3 in this game.
28-3.
There's a familiar
at
story.
home.
No one has ever lost.
Yeah, no one has ever been.
We're the Falcons.
Yeah, exactly.
Son of a.
Oklahoma came back to win that game 34-31. And what the amazing part about that is, obviously, we're going to get to that way later. Is they're going to play together again in a couple of weeks.
Right.
And we have no idea what team does what. I mean, it's just so that was your Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're really not over it, but boy, oh boy. I can honestly say we don't have enough time for all the content in this show today.
No, we don't. We've got a lot to get to. We've got some great guests coming up for you this morning. We'll have Mike Tannenbaum, our front office insider. What will we talk to him about? I don't know, maybe a workout that didn't happen and then did happen in different parts of the state of Georgia. We got Joe Tessitore, Monday Night Football. Huge one in Mexico City tonight as the Chargers take on Hall of Famer Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Tim Hasselbeck will be here. Stephen A. Smith will join us as well, as will our senior NFL insider, Mortensen. Chris Mortensen will join us as well. But we start with the Sunday night game. And apparently, we all needed to just back off because the Rams did have a plan for Todd Gurley. Unleash him in Week 11 because Todd Gurley was featured last night in part out of necessity because Cooper Kupp was the only wide receiver available to them. That was their plan all along. We're going to nurse Todd Gurley along throughout the entire year, and then Week 11 against the Bears, unleash the hounds, and that's exactly what they did with Gurley.
God, what an ugly game this was.
Yes, it was.
Holy smokes. And you're right. It turned into a running game, 34 rushes against 18 passes for the Rams. Gurley gains just under 100 yards, 97 yards. This was their plan all along, to run and to run a lot and to continue to run. And even by that standard, they didn't run nearly as many plays as the Chicago Bears did. And the Chicago Bears ran 74 plays. The Rams ran 52. Couple of fumbles. The Bears had every opportunity. It was about as ugly as can be for the Bears. And the Rams, even though it was an ugly win, it doesn't matter in the NFL like it does in college. And they still find themselves now at, 6-4, one game out of the wild cards. Because you look at the NFC, the last wild card spot right now is an 8-3 record, and that's the Minnesota Vikings, who had to come back from being down 20 to the Denver Broncos. It's a little different, obviously, in the AFC, but the NFC, that is your sixth-place team right now, sitting at 8-3. So a big win. I don't think the Rams are going to make the playoffs, in all honesty, but they are within shouting distance of one game away from that right now.
Yeah, that's all you can ask to keep yourself in the fight right now. But you're right, between some of their weapons being hurt, we know Brandon Cooks, we saw him on the sideline in street clothes. At least they figured out how to throw to Cooper Kupp last night. That happened a couple times after the Ofer performance last week, but it still seems like a group that's out of sorts. And again, you account for the fact that it is a Bears defense that we know has quality parts, but this was an ugly eyesore of a football game that we thought it was going to be going into it, and it lived up to that billing in almost every sense, including the way it ended.
Exactly right. So Gurley, for those that don't know, had 133 all-purpose yards and 28 touches, both season highs. He also had 97 rushing yards. But it was pretty clear from their first drive. By the way, the first two drives the Rams ended in turnovers. Yeah. And the Bears' first two drives ended in missed kicks because Bears kickers are cursed forever. Let's just understand that going forward.
Man.
There's no other explanation for it. But here's Sean McVay. Here's Sean McVay. That's his grandfather. Here's Sean McVay basically saying, yeah, Gurley was the focus, and he might be going forward.
I think so. I think that's an ideal situation, Bill. But we'll continue to look at this film and we'll see how we want to put together our next game plan. But anytime you get Todd involved like that, it's usually always a good thing for our offense.
So why wait till Week 11?
Well,
then?
I mean, I do think a lot of it was the injuries.
Yes.
Kupp was actually healthy last week, didn't get a catch. So this one, as Mike mentioned, Brandon Cooks was out. Robert Woods, for personal reasons, was out. A reworked offensive line as well last night. So I think this was the safe route. And again, you're going against a team, quite honestly, where you don't have to score a lot of points to win. And they didn't. They scored 17 and still won by double digits because the Bears are just horrific on the offensive side of the ball. So that was the safe way. Try and control the clock. As I mentioned, even though they ran less plays, held the ball for 5 less minutes, run the ball, a simpler offense, because in all honesty, Goff doesn't look very good throwing the ball either. There were some ugly passes by both quarterbacks.
My God, his first interception, or his interception was like, where are you going with that one?
Looked horrific. So they got to rely on Gurley, got to rely on the running game. We got to see, okay, there's Todd Gurley. Now, is he going to get 25 carries a game going out? I don't think so, because they're going to start to get the wide receivers back, and they're going to mix in the run and the pass. But this was a game where they did exactly what they needed to win. Play tighter coverage on the wide receivers for Chicago, because they do not throw the ball downfield, so you're not going to get many yards after the catch, and just run the ball and get yourself some points, and all you need is in the teens to beat the Bears at this point.
Yeah, and so then there's the Bears, right? Because for the Rams, they're stuck with Jared Goff.
Right?
Like that could be the one advantage you have in Chicago, is you might be able to get away from your
$130 million worth of Jared Goff.
Yeah, where on the other side, we saw Mitchell Trubisky shown the door in the fourth quarter, and now the debate will rage whether it was the hip injury that everyone in Chicago is claiming took Mitch out, or if it was Mitch that took Mitch out in a lot of these situations. And the circle and the fire and the heat under the seat of Mitchell Trubisky and Matt Nagy, I think at this point, are really starting to heat up, because neither have acquitted themselves well this season.
Here's Matt Nagy explaining after the game that he had a conversation with Mitch and says it was about the hip injury.
I had to pull him aside and talk to him and just ask him and say exactly that we needed him to be honest with us, and trying to play through that is what he was doing, and at the same time it was affecting a little bit of how he was able to throw, and I don't want to put him at more risk, and I also don't want to affect how the play is for the team.
So how it went down, Mitch, supposedly right before halftime, Mitch had tweaked his hip, and they were keeping an eye on it in the second half, and he said it was getting tighter and tighter in the second half and couldn't move as well, and that led to pulling him out of the game with 3 minutes, because you saw that, and you really never saw an injury, and you started thinking, why would he do this with 3 minutes to go and just open yourself up to everything that's going to happen after for Nagy?
Yeah, never really saw him wincing at all. Never really saw him talk to any doctors or trainers when he went over to the sideline, which was the curious part as we watched this all together in the magical platform that is Twitter.
But I will say, I mean, because you mentioned Trubisky and you mentioned Nagy, they do have to go together. His 5.6 yards per attempt is the worst in the NFL. They don't throw it down the field, and you're going up against a Wade Phillips, who was my D coordinator for a while in Philly. You know the type of defense he likes to play. He wasn't letting those receivers breathe on those quick outside routes, and yet they kept throwing these 1 yard out routes thinking you're going to get the yards after the catch, and the DBs were right on them. I mean, it wasn't going to work, yet you kept doing it. You got some passes down the middle to try and create some space with the receivers on the slants that worked occasionally, but for the most part, it's just you have a lot of good receivers, I think, out there, but you just don't have a quarterback, you trust to throw the ball downfield. And quite honestly, some of the play calling, I'm sorry.
Yes.
3rd and 1, and you run an option?
Yeah.
You run an option left where Trubisky basically takes 2. And I'm not even going to blame. Yeah, I guess you got to blame him, because if you're going to run the play, that means you practice it, where you actually run at the person you're supposed to be optioning and not let him play both you and the ball, which is exactly what they did. But, it's not like you were destroying the world running the ball, but you were getting enough occasionally on that. On a 3rd and 1 to run an option just blew my mind. Just run a play, move the sticks, man. Yeah. Just move the sticks.
Go this way, not sideways, against a really, really fast defense. Well, by the way, Aaron Donald is just a wrecking ball again last night. The stats sometimes don't do him justice.
Almost doesn't break stride. As an offensive lineman, you have to just be in fear all the time of that guy when he lines up on you. It's ridiculous.
I'm afraid of him in this chair.
Yes, because you have played against him.
Yeah.
Yes. I'd like to forget those days.
Not great, Bob. Not great. By the way, you're right. It's a offensive package for this team, because once again, this was the 9th time in 10 games they failed to get 300 yards of offense, and they find a way to lose 17-7. And you have to wonder if they're going to go through the kicker carousel again.
I think
after
so.
Eddie Pinheiro missed 2 in the first half, where it could have made it a much different game. Don't forget, we got twice today your chance to get the winning word and come with us to the College Football National Championship playoff game, or however they're calling it, the College Football Playoff National Championship game. It's the title game, okay? We'll do all the semantics, but you're going to have 2 chances to come with us to New Orleans, which is why we're still resplendent in purple, gold, and green. Plus, coming up, an offensive player who you should be afraid to face, because there is trust there. We'll get to that after this.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. I'm Jason Fitz. Let's get you caught up on some of what is trending from around the world of sports. And it starts with the Patriots last night. Patriots scored 17 unanswered. They beat the Eagles 17-10. Julian Edelman, 15-yard passing touchdown, 5 or 6 for 141, and 2 touchdowns passing in his career. So the secret is just let Julian Edelman throw. In the meantime, Tom Brady still had a good game, 26-47, 216 there. But no touchdowns, no interceptions. That's the third game this season without a touchdown passing. Carson Wentz, frustrating for some Eagles fans, an up and down performance there. But the Patriots get the 17-10 win after scoring 17 unanswered. I can't get the machine to give me the little bub sound, so I'm just going to go on. The next game, 49ers win over the Cardinals, is a worst-case scenario for Caesars. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the 49ers beat the Cardinals 36-26. If you're just paying attention to the box score, that's fine. But the last play of the game was significant. Jeff Wilson Jr. caught a slant from Jimmy G, took it 25 yards for the lead with 31 seconds left. Then Cardinals' Keyshawn Johnson fumbled on the next drive. 49ers get the ball back. On the last play, there's a fumble that the 49ers pick up and run back in for the touchdown. That's significant because they were 10-point favorites. So for Caesars, a worst-case scenario, we needed the Cardinals to lose by more than 10 since no parlays lost, and Arizona backers at more than 10 didn't lose. So ESPN looks at this, talking to Vegas, absolute worst-case scenario for the 49ers. And then the last, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens dominate the battle of MVP candidates. Can't get the little sound effect to work. The Ravens win 41-7. Thank you. Well done. At the end of the day, Mark Ingram, by the way, fantastic introduction of Lamar Jackson. But this game was about Lamar, the MVP, coming out and doing what is now par for the course for the Ravens, kicking the snot out of other football teams that we think are really good. Gentlemen, that's what's trending. I'll work on fancy sound effects for the next one.
What's Trending is brought to you by Dodge. Get $10 off for each horsepower of your new car with Dodge Power Dollars. So buy a Dodge SRT Hellcat Red-Eye and receive an almost $8,000 cash. I was wondering where you guys were on that.
Sorry,
I was there.
I was there. There it is.
Me, not now.
Back. Oh, come on. There you go.
Not now, Fitzy. Not now.
Hellcat. Yeah.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
Get behind me, Fitzy. All right, Golic and Wingo with you, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. And just before we do anything, before we even decide to go down this road or have any sort of conversation, if you haven't heard it, you just need to hear how Ravens running back Mark Ingram introduced Lamar Jackson to the post-game press conference. You want to talk about love for your teammate, love for a guy that you believe is helping you do good things? Listen to Mark Ingram.
Now I would just like to introduce y'all to the man, the myth, the legend, the MVP front runner. If anybody else got to say something different about that, then come see me. I'm right here in Beatmore outside the bank. If you got an issue with that, come see me. I'm about that. Big trust. Woo woo. Lamar Jackson in the flesh. Yes, sir. Big trust. New Era 8 apparel.
Everything about that is fantastic. I listen, honestly, the show would be better if we just played that for 4 hours. Big trust.
Think they're all having a ball out there in Baltimore?
I did a couple of off-season stints with the New Orleans Saints, as we've talked on about here before, and I could say pound for pound, there might not be a better, funnier person to have in a locker room with you than Mark Ingram. And in the real sense, from Lamar Jackson and his development standpoint, to have a veteran player like Mark in that backfield who can help with so many of the growing pains that come with being a young player in this league in general, one who has spent time around a future Hall of Famer in Drew Brees, comes with the pedigree he does. What a perfect backfield mate, and a guy who has thrived in a lot of different ways on the field for this Baltimore Ravens team.
They rushed for 263. They're doing college rushing.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was
is what they're doing. And for those with Lamar Jackson, it was a few categories, right? When he came in, it was like there was he needs to change positions, like our used to be our compatriot here, Bill Polian, who's come out and said I was wrong about that.
Yes, he was.
There were probably more in that camp than in the camp all the way on the other side of he's going to be a star. And then there was everything in the middle, kind of probably where we all fell. man, what an athlete. Not sure how he's going to pass. Got to kind of wait and see. Well, I think we've all waited and seen enough. John Harbaugh is just kicking back with a stogie if he smokes him with his feet up and saying, you know what? We know how to use the guy, and that's let him do what he does, and he is proving he can throw the ball better and better.
Yeah.
As the weeks go on, and he's more confident doing it, and it is unbelievable. They are bludgeoning teams. And by running the ball, controlling the ball, 13 minutes more, running the ball, they are bludgeoning teams. It is ridiculous what's going on.
Listen, he was 17 of 24, but he started 1 for 6 in this game, then reeled off 13 straight completions. Listen, you can have all, and I'm here for it, you can have all the questions about whether or not over a 4 or 5 year period this is going to work, because at the end of the day, even Michael Vick broke his leg, in a preseason game.
Right.
So that's a legitimate concern, but the other thing that is legitimate is it is working the way they are using Lamar Jackson, and it is working in a way that is giving 31 other teams problems. Big trust right now in what Lamar Jackson is doing.
Yeah, I anyone who saw him in college, this isn't all that surprising.
You're right. It's not surprising in what he's doing, but it is surprising that it's being this effective in the NFL.
I mean, you know what? That's like saying the same way we doubted Deshaun Watson then, because Deshaun Watson did the same thing in college that he's doing now. Lamar Jackson did the same thing in college that he's doing now. Both of them translated in ways that had doubters. Now, Deshaun Watson had his doubters because he had a large sample size. He threw a few too many red zone interceptions. All these things that, again, when we see more of quarterbacks in college, we tend to judge them more harshly than the guys we probably should, who we have smaller sample sizes on.
The one thing I will say is I thought Deshaun Watson was going to be a really good quarterback, and he was even doing it sooner than I thought. And Lamar Jackson, while I had a wait-and-see approach, I don't think, even those that thought he could be good, did anybody say, oh, yeah, in his second year after only starting half a year, his first year, is going to be right in the conversation for MVP of the league.
Yeah.
That's where I think more people are kind of surprised. Okay, he's good, but this good.
Yeah, here's the question, and I think it's legitimate. Are the Ravens the best team in football right now?
You know what? You and Fitzy have your rankings on Wednesday, and I was going to come here and say, I don't know how you cannot have them number one.
It's hard
Who are you
not
putting
to
number
look at
one?
them.
And honestly,
it's hard not to look at them at that point.
The biggest reason I'd have them in number one is what that defense did to Houston yesterday.
Because exactly
we went into this game saying these are both bad, not just they're pretty bad defenses for the most part coming into this statistically. And that Ravens pass rush got after. And this was Titus Howard was back for Houston on that line. It wasn't like they were depleted up front. 6 sacks yesterday for that group against one of the other better offenses in the league. They made them look JV on offense for Houston.
And the other thing which was remarkable about this game, which sort of gets lost in the Lamar Jackson situation and everything else they were doing, this was the first game of Deshaun Watson's public career where he lost by more than one possession. Every game he started in the NFL and every game he started in Clemson, it was always 8 points or less.
I never
in a game that they lost.
I can't even believe that stat when I saw you tweet that. And I'm like, that can't be right.
Yeah,
that can't be every single game.
Yeah,
it blows my mind.
I mean, in a loss. I mean, they've obviously blown out.
Yeah. But I mean, in a loss,
he's never been blown out. He's never been blown out before what we saw.
And they just got blown out. Jason, are you going to have him number one? Is Baltimore going to be number one?
Yeah, I mean, Baltimore has to be number one. They've earned every. Especially
Jason, have you learned nothing? Say we'll find out Wednesday.
No. The
spoiler
way
alert.
too
the
obvious.
Mystery will be on the rest of the list. But my God, I mean, when you've beaten the teams that they've beaten over the last 4 weeks, there's no reason they
wait till you see who's at number 2, though.
Yeah, there you go. I'll say this.
He's at 3F.
At this point where they are,
the Raiders at 3F and go ahead.
We know the Russell Wilsons and Pat Mahomes when he's healthy. There are 3 quarterbacks right now that I'm just wowing about: Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott.
Thank you. Put some respect behind that name.
Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Now, he's not throwing for a ton of yards, but he throws the ball very, very, almost 65% completion.
They finally let him run yesterday,
They
too.
did.
Man.
They're opening that up. Man, those
My
3
guy's
guys
out
are
here.
really, really getting the job done.
You are exactly right. We'll talk more about Dak a little bit later, and that is Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less, only at Walmart. So it's pretty clear that Mark Ingram and the Ravens have big trust in Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Trust is also a big issue for another quarterback, except there ain't no big trust at all. We'll get to all of that after this.
All right, make sure you tune into our new favorite TV show, that's Fansville, presented by Dr. Pepper, airing every Saturday throughout the college football season. during the commercials in Fansville. Dr. Pepper delivers that tour de force performance alongside some legendary college football guys like Brian Bosworth and Eddie George. Critics are saying it's good, it's fantastic, and is anyone else thirsty? And the best thing since Diet Dr. Pepper and Dr. Pepper Cherry. Get to your local store today and grab some delicious, ice-cold Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. Back after this, Golic and Wingo.